Welcome back, TCS viewers. It's Chris Niccolls here from the camera store. We've got a fun one for you today because we're looking at the very new Fuji X100s and Fuji X20. Now these are both the latest from Fuji, upgrades from the very popular X10 and X100. And if you're interested in what those cameras could do, check out our old videos on the X10 and X100. But I want to show you guys what's new, what's changed about these cameras. We're going to spend the day in Inglewood. Come with me and we'll see what these cameras can do. Now here's one of the single biggest improvements over the original X100. You know, the X100's manual focus left a lot to be desired. It took a long time to turn. You had to turn the ring over and over and over. The X100S, the manual focus works beautifully. It's quick and precise, and they've also added some great aids. Now you've got peaking. The peaking does work really well. It's a nice addition, but the color is just white. You can't choose like a red or yellow peaking. And I do find that sometimes it's hard to see against bright backgrounds. But you're not going to use peaking because you've got split image, and the split image works great. You get this multiple split image right in the center. The center goes gray, but it's easy to use and it's not obtrusive, and it really lets you get really precise manual focusing. I also love that right in that center spot, you kind of get a peaking, as it were, too, because the image will almost shimmer when it's also in focus. It's really easy to use, it's very accurate. Coupled with this nice manual focus ring throw, you get a great system. Now, when the Fuji X100 came out, it was a huge success, and that was thanks in no small part to its beautiful classic styling. Now, the X100S, you'd be forgiven for picking up and thinking you just still have an X100. They've kept it so faithful, but that's a good thing because this camera feels great, it looks great, and they've kept it almost exactly the same handling. Same great control dials, same classy look. I want to take just a little bit of time and talk about some of the handling features on this new camera. Everything that I love about the Fuji X100 is still here. The camera feels so familiar. All the control dials feel fantastic to use. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Everything I didn't like about the X100 is also here when it comes to handling. I never really liked this little dial here. I always found it very superfluous. I would have rathered an actual rotating control dial. And you know, the drive button here, it's still annoying. That's where all of your different controls are for video and for, you know, doing different kinds of modes. I wish they would have changed it. But otherwise, it feels great. This Q button here is a nice addition. We can now get a quick menu, and that really keeps you out of a lot of the menus. You've got a lot of stuff right at your fingertips. Ooh, I don't like this though. This rotating dial back here, you gotta either push it really hard to make it go, in which case it starts pushing buttons, or touch it lightly and it doesn't even spin. I have not been enjoying that. And the macro thing is still here. If I want to shoot something close, I gotta go into macro and then do it, just like a point and shoot. I mean, it's fine, but sometimes you'll find you want to focus on something close, you get up, it doesn't work. Oh yeah, I gotta hit that button. I wish it would just do the whole range. All right, that's my last shot there. Now, one of the big changes with the X100S is the new Fuji X-Trans sensor like you'd find in the XE1, and that's a big benefit. Now, of course, the X-Trans image quality, we all know about it. It's all over the net, and you've seen it before, but you're going to get great sharp results because of the lack of anti-aliasing, and low-light performance is fantastic. As we go through these photos here, you can see, I mean, from the native ISO of 200 to 6400, we can then push to 25,600, and just look at that low light level performance. You get sharp detail, except at the most extreme high ISOs. Noise is very well controlled. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again, Fuji makes some of the best APS-C size sensors for high ISO performance on the market. All right, this is me taking a picture of this happy face, which I'm sure every photographer in Inglewood has shot. I'm doing this against my will, just so you guys know. Screen, by the way, not great in this bright light. Viewfinder's nicer. Here's one of the things I'm sure everybody's wondering about, and that is, have they improved the focusing on the X100S? And I'm going to say yes, they definitely have. Just going to try to grab some cars as they go by here. But we're going to also try the continuous. But really, the X100, one of its main lacking features was fairly slow autofocus. I can already tell from shooting today this is a lot quicker. Let's see if we can capture these cars. I'm just going to point it at Jordan and then right to it. It's not bad. We're actually catching them, and it is sharp in focus when we do hit them. All right, we're in continuous, 6 frames per second. Let's see what the camera can do. It's always focusing. And we do get really nice bursts there. Let's just try that one more time here. Now the focusing is constantly focusing. But you know, because this is perhaps just right before production, it doesn't seem to continuously focus during the frame shooting. You know, it seems to lock focus continuously, and then once I start firing, it's just going to stay there and get my 6 frame per second burst until I let go. And they may change that, but still, it's such a big improvement over the original X100. All right, now it's time to look at the brand new Fuji X20, and at first glance, you'd be forgiven for thinking that this is our X10 video. If you ever go back in our archives and look at that, I'm going to spare you the Kai Wong impersonation this time. But you know, it's got the same great lens, the same great look, the same great body. Where are the changes? Well, it's what's inside that's really changed here, folks. Now, like any good small camera, we do get beautiful macro shots. Oh, ice, hang on. Never too old, man, you're never too old. That control dial on the back of the X20 works beautifully. I actually like it way better than the X100S's system. Here's one of the very exciting things about this new camera, the viewfinder. You know, a lot of cameras nowadays are getting rid of optical viewfinders, but the Fuji X20 has the most sophisticated viewfinder in a camera like this right now on the market. Now, not only do you get an optical viewfinder, which has actually very, very well-controlled parallax considering, but you get a digital overlay. You get your aperture, your shutter speed, all your information showing up right on the screen. It makes it really nice to use. The back of the screen is nice too, but I do have one issue here. Once in a while, it gets a little laggy, almost like a slow computer trying to render video. Still, it's nice to use, and you're really going to rely on that optical viewfinder a lot more on this X20. One of the great things about the X20 is this new sensor they've put in here. We now have a Fuji X-Trans sensor. Now, of course, smaller than its bigger brother, the X100, but that lack of anti-aliasing filter gives you such a sharp shot. Check this detail out. We zoom in on that, and again, it's just incredible what it can resolve. So really, a lot of power in a very small camera. So here's what everybody wants to know. Does the Fuji X20 compare well against the Sony RX100? We've got similar price points. We do have a bigger sensor with the RX100. So we're shooting here at 800 ISO and 3200 ISO, moderate apertures. Let's take a look. Now, honestly, at 800 ISO, I actually like the way the Fuji renders the noise a little bit better. We're getting just a little bit nicer detail. But I think when you go to 3200, that higher sensor size on the RX100 shows its worth. Now we're getting a little bit more detail on the Sony. Still, folks, we're splitting hairs here. And remember, that Fuji lens does give you a nice bright aperture at the longer ranges. So all in all, this X20, even with the smaller sensor, compares very, very well. Now here, just take a look at some of the other ISOs that the Fuji X20 can do here in low light situations. Again, as we go through the range here, it does a great job. Minimal color aberrations, minimal chromatic noise, and very, very good high ISO performance. This camera goes again from about 100 all the way to 25,600. A very, very usable range. Now when it comes to video on the X20, we've got a really cool feature because we get 60 frames per second at 1080, which is very rare. Here's what we don't get. Everything else. This camera doesn't even give you 30 frames per second until you go to standard def. I mean, you don't get any manual control. It's such a weird frame rate to stick at, so I don't know. I mean, at least on the X100S, you get 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second at 1080. You get aperture control, but this thing, just standard shooting at 60 frames per second. A little odd. All right, folks, now as I look at this oil spill here on the ground, and it's a myriad of rainbow colors, it reminds me of some of the new things they've added on the cameras here. The X100S now has some crazy art filters. Check it out. You get your monochrome with color. They decided to go that route. You get soft focus if you feel like reliving the 80s. Jordan has never looked better. And I should also mention, too, while I'm doing this, raw photography on these X-Trans sensors, don't worry about it. Feel free to shoot. The latest versions of Lightroom and Phase 1 Capture One support them just fine. You're going to have no issues there. Here's the bottom line on these cameras. They're evolutions of already existing designs. I mean, we're not getting anything revolutionary here, but I think they've done enough to change it. Fuji did something very smart. They took a look at their X10 design and their X100 design, and whatever was already really good about those designs, they moved forward. Things like incredible lens quality, classic design, beautiful manual controls. But then they made improvements where those cameras needed it. Everything people didn't like about the original designs, they tried to fix. Namely, autofocus. That's a big one. These cameras focus so much faster than their original counterparts. You're going to love that. And although image quality was amazing on the original Fujis, it gets even better here. Coupled with these incredible lenses, you're now going to get sharper results, better low light performance, and better dynamic range with these new X-Trans sensors. I like the new viewfinders, higher res, digital overlay. Those are nice touches. Video mode, well, okay, you're not going to miss anything there. They haven't really improved that. But, you know, in every way, shape, and form, these have become refinements on already incredibly well-designed cameras. So here's the thing. If you guys are existing X10 users and X100 users, is it going to warrant upgrading? I think so. I think you're really going to like the changes they made. And if you're coming into Fuji here for the first time and you're buying these, you guys are very lucky because you're in for a fantastic street companion camera. Look for these coming out very, very soon. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you guys again soon.